Yeah, wanna know what it's like? Wish me what it's like. I don't really got no tights. I just wanna fuck all night. Yeah, yeah. Oh, baby, I need to know. I just been fantasizing, and we got a lot of time. Baby, can go to bed. You don't know what it's like. Yeah, yeah. Oh, baby, I need to know. What's your size? It's objectified. Daddy don't wanna go. Hope I'm going right. Get started. Things reply. You can do it to your favorite song. I'm riding to the danger zone. You know my nigga be bugging me. I just be wondering if you could fuck with me better. Itching for me like an ugly sweater. Need it in me like a chucking each other. I need to know. Wanna know what it's like? Baby, show me what it's like. I don't really got no tights. I just wanna fuck all night. Yeah, yeah. Oh, baby, I need to know. I just been fantasizing, and we got a lot of time. Baby, can go to bed. You don't know what it's like. Yeah, yeah. Oh, baby, I need to know. You're exciting, boy, come find me. Your eyes hurt me, girl, come like me. Fuck that feeling, both us fighting. Could he try your most likely? Trying to see if you can handle the sex. Probably give his ass a panic attack. Sorry if I gave a random erection. Probably thinking I'm a telekinetic. Oh, but you a fan of the magic. Poof, pussy like an Alakazam. I heard from a friend of a friend that day was a 10 out of 10. I can't stand it.
Alexa, stop. What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, y'all? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? All right, y'all, we about to get into, we're going to switch lanes for a short minute. Give me that. Give me that. Get right there. Give me that. Thank you. We about to switch lanes, y'all. Hold real quick. Hello. Hello. All right, y'all. So we are about to go over the Richard Arline transcript here. Here. There you go. Mm-hmm. Not that. Here. Hold on. Drink the water. Okay. All right, y'all. So let me see who we. No. Let's see who we got up in here right now. We got Miss Davis. What's up, Miss Davis? Miss Davis said hello, everyone. Happy to be here. I already hit the like button. All right, awesome. Thank you, West Coast Bells. Hello. DTA 1329. What's going on? Terry McIntosh. Hello. D Garden. Hey, what's going on? Grace Arline. Hello. Arline's in the house. What's up, D Grand? How are you? T Bam, what's up? What's up? What's up? Nisha Jones, hello. Julia, what's up? Shay, let me put the link in the chat. What's up, Tamika's Thoughts? How you doing? Riri, what up? What up? let me put the thing in here in case people want to come in and help me read this. It's not long, y'all. It's only like 33 pages, but it was a zip to it. I'm gonna start from the beginning. Let me pull this up. Give me one moment here. Let me share. Invite. Copy the clipboard. Go here. Yes, how you doing, Shaw baby? It was awesome talking to you this morning. All right, let me paste this over here. Boom, paste. There we go. It's in the chat. Let me pin this to the top. If I can get a couple of readers, please, that will be awesome. Awesome. Hold on. Let me pin this to the top. Hold on. Live. Okay. All right. Pin this to the top. Okay. So it's pinned to the top. So any of my readers want to come up in here? If you can read just for a little bit, that would be awesome. Shay, I know you said you would help out. Anybody else would like to help out? That would be awesome. What's up, Aisha? What's going on? What's going on? I'll be tuning in and out because I'm busy. That's fine. I understand people busy. I just want to get this out because I promised I would. What up, Shay?
What up? What up? What
How
up?
you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. Oh, great. Thank you for coming on. Thank you. I appreciate you. So,
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Always. So what we're going over right now, Shay, is I don't know if you want to read from the screen, if you want me to just send it. Well, it's probably easier for you from the screen.
Yeah, the screen's fine.
Perfect. Okay. So we're reading. This is, as you can see, this came out on, y'all forgive my baby hair. Baby, daddy love you, okay? You gotta go play. Go get the kitty cat. Okay.
So precious.
Oh, yeah. You got the kitty cat?
Mm.
All right. So, we've been reading the Richard Arline Jr. Transcripts. This was put out on February the 4th of 2021. We've never read this before, but it kind of gives you a insight on exactly what was going on with him surrounding this case. Okay. So if you would, Shay, I'll go ahead and read. Let me see. If you want to be you can be whatever you want to be. You can be the judge. You can be the government. It's up to you. You know what? Go ahead. I'll be Arline, and you can be the judge, and you could be the government if you want to.
Okay.
Okay. And unless somebody else come in and they can take one of those roles. But what we'll do, we'll start here at the top. United States District Court, United States versus Richard Arline Jr. Transcript of criminal calls for plea hearing. Hold on, somebody else just came in. Yay, Riri. What's up, Riri?
Riri, my daughter's sister.
Yay. So, Riri, can you read the judge? Shay, can you read the government? And yay. Okay, I think I got everybody I need now. All right.
Yeah, this way we can get some insight as to what he was, getting this, why he was pleading.
Exactly.
He had a plea arrangement where he would testify against him because they were saying, oh, it was all made up just because he had a case. Because that was what when I was over there on Chokes, I was like, well, what about the John Doe's? They were like, oh, it was all fake news. And it was just all made up because they trying to get out of some stuff that they went through. I'm like, oh, Lord, y'all just really just got a lie for a lie. But that's what liars do, because when you tell one lie, you always got to be able to tell another lie. So you're going to lie.
Yes, absolutely. Hey, Mr. Don. Mr. Don said, Atmos, it's the sweetest peach. Baby, I just saw your segment on Choke's channel. Did you read Denai's testimony yet? Yes, we read Denai's testimony. It was a treat. All right. All right, let's get into this, y'all. So
hold on 1 second. I'm trying to find it on television so I can read it off the TV.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Okay, I think I got it.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, let's get into this here. So as you can see here, this was an appearance, looks like via video conference. So for the government, it was Seth Ducharme, who is the acting U.S. attorney, along with Elizabeth Geddes and Maria Cruz Melendez. For the defendant, it was Cesar De Castro, and then a transportation service, transportations plus 2, whatever that is. But pretty much the clerk, this is a criminal cause for a plea hearing, docket number 21 CR 44, United States versus Richard Arline Jr., Magistrate Judge Peggy Kuo presiding. Will the parties please state their appearances? I guess that'll be you, Judge. Go ahead.
Am I going to be the judge or am I going to be the
So Riri can be the judge, Shay will be the government. So this right here says, will the parties please state their appearances for the record, beginning with the government?
Okay, so that would be your part, Riri.
I'm Geddes. I know I'm the judge.
No,
right?
no, I'm saying you would say that part.
My bad. Will the parties please state their appearance for the record, beginning with the government?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Elizabeth Geddes and Maria Cruz Melendez for the government.
Good afternoon for Richard Arline Jr., Cesar De Castro.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and Mr. Arline. You are present as well, yes?
Yes.
All right. This is Judge Keough. The first thing that I'd like to do is to make sure that we have your permission, Mr. Arline, to have this proceeding by video. Normally, we would be able to have this proceeding in a courtroom, which we're all together face to face. But because of the pandemic, it's difficult for us to do that. The CARES Act passed by the government, as well as an administrative order of the chief judge, allowed us to have this proceeding by video conference this morning. The consent of the defendant. Is it okay with you, Mr. Arline, for us to proceed today by video rather than in person?
Yes, it is.
All right. So if there are any technical difficulties, for example, if you can't hear us or things cut out, please let us know by raising your hand. You're saying something so that we can immediately make sure that you can hear and see everything that's going on. All right?
Yes.
And Your Honor.
Yes, Ms. Geddes.
In an abundance of caution, the government would also submit that there are facts in this case that make it prudent to go forward today by video rather than further delay today's guilty plea or anticipated guilty plea. Both the victim in this case as well as the defendant have an interest in a speedy resolution of this matter, and therefore we submit that it is prudent to go forward today.
All right, thank you. And I would also note for the record that Judge Donnelly, the district judge, has also entered an order making those findings. So I understand that there's information. So I understand that there's information filed in this case, and there has not yet been an arraignment on that information. Is that correct, Mr. Castro?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right. So for the first thing, we're going to do this proceeding today in 2 parts. The first is that I will do an arraignment on the information, and you'll enter a plea at that point. And then we'll do the second part where you change your plea. And as I understand, you're intending to do to one of those guilty. But before you enter any guilty plea, I will have a discussion with you about some important things first, okay? So the first part is the arraignment on the information. So Mr. Arline, you've been charged in it. you've been charged in an information with bribery of a witness, contrary to Title 18 U.S.C. Section 201B and 3, Section 2, and then also Section 351 and subsequent sections. Did you get a copy of this information in this case?
Yes.
And did you have a chance to discuss the charges or charge in the information with your lawyer?
Yes.
Do you understand what you're being charged with?
Yes.
Do you want me to read the information out loud, or do you waive the public reading of this information?
I'll waive it.
All right. And Mr. Arline, how do you plead to this information? Guilty or not guilty?
Judge, we'll plead not guilty for this moment, and then we're going to have an application to plead guilty shortly.
All right. Thank you. And Mr. DeCastro, so that's the first part of this proceeding today. And Mr. Arline, your lawyer tells me that you want to enter a plea of guilty to this information. And before you do that, I need to make sure that you understand your rights, the consequences of your plea, and make sure that you understand everything. So I'm going to ask you a few questions.
And Your Honor.
Yes.
Yes. Just before we proceed, I would also note that the defendant has waived his right to a grand jury returning an indictment against you. I believe that Your Honor has a waiver of indictment that the defendant had previously signed. I just want to make sure that that's on the record.
I will get to that.
And the defendant acknowledges that. Okay. Thank you, Judge.
I will get to that. I'm doing everything in stages. The first thing is just to make sure that Mr. Arline understands what we're doing. And I need to ask you some questions, Mr. Arline, and your answer should be under oath. So I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand so that you can take an oath to tell the truth. I'm sorry. You have to speak up a little bit. Richard Arline. Oh, that's okay. Richard Arline, having been first duly sworn, was examined and testified as follows. All right, thank you. You can put your hand down. Thank you. So now that you have been sworn to tell the truth, you must tell the truth. If you were to deliberately lie in response to any of my questions, you could face. If you were to deliberately lie to any of my questions, you could face additional charges for perjury and making a false statement. If you're prosecuted on those charges, any statements that you make can be used against you. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right. So if I say anything during these proceedings that you do not understand, please let me know. It's important that you understand everything that's going on today. All right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so before we proceed, I have been hearing a lot of, and I also see that there's somebody on the phone who is not muted, and I don't recognize the phone number. So whoever you are, please mute your phone. There's a caller.
Audio recording.
Feedback and disruption. All right, thank you. So Mr. Arline, I'm just going to ask you a few preliminary questions first. What is your full name?
Richard Arline. Richard Lafrius Arline Jr.
All right, thank you. How old are you?
31.
How far did you go in school?
High school diploma.
And did you graduate high school?
Yes.
And have you had any problems communicating with Mr. DeCastro?
No, ma'am.
And are you now or have you recently been under the care of a doctor or a psychologist for any reason?
No, ma'am.
Are you taking any medications?
No, ma'am.
Have you had any alcohol to drink in the last 24 hours?
No, ma'am.
Have you taken any drugs recently?
No, ma'am.
And as you sit here today, is your mind clear?
Yes.
And you understand what we're doing today?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you scroll up a little bit?
Yep.
Oh, thank you. Okay, Mr. DeCosta.
You might have a little lag on your phone. Make sure you got the video all the way up because it's like a 20-second delay.
Yeah, I kind of figured that. Let's see if it's.
That's okay. If you're watching on TV, you're going to probably have that automatically. Don't worry about it. We'll just.
I'm going to see if I can see it on my phone if it's a little bit better.
Well, whatever's easiest for you, because even sometimes in court, they don't always be on it. So sometimes they have delays in their speech. So it'll be more natural. It's fine.
Okay. Okay, Mr. DeCastro, have you had any problems communicating with Mr. Arline?
None whatsoever.
And in your view, is he capable of understanding the nature of the charges?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you discussed the charges with him and what it means to plead guilty?
Yes, we have.
And in your view, does he understand the rights that he will be waiving by pleading guilty?
He does.
Do you have any concerns or doubts about his competency to plead here today?
No concerns or doubts.
And have you advised him of the maximum sentence and fine that could be imposed as a result of this plea?
Yes. We have also discussed the sentencing guidelines.
Okay, thank you. And so you have the right to have your guilty plea heard by district judge. In this case, it would be the Judge Ann Donnelly, who is also the judge who will sentence you. Instead of having a Judge Donnelly hand the plea today, we may waiver the right to have a magistrate handle it. In that case, it's me. So it's completely up to you if you want me or Judge Donnelly to handle the plea. It doesn't matter to either one of us. It's completely your choice. Would you like me to handle the plea or would you like Judge Donnelly to do it?
It's fine if you handle it.
All right. And I see that there is a signed consent to magistrate judge jurisdiction and will proceed. So the plea, as we mentioned earlier, there was an information that charges you in the case. And I understand that a few moments ago, you entered a plea of not guilty, and now you would like to change that plea to guilty. The information charges that are in or about and between May 20th and June 20th, both dates between approximately and exclusive within the Eastern District of New York and elsewhere. The defendant, Richard Arline Jr., together with others, did knowingly, intentionally, and corruptly, directly and indirectly offer a thing of value to Jane Doe, an individual whose identity is known to the United States Attorney, with an intent to influence testimony under oath, affirmation of Jane Doe as a witness upon a trial hearing or other proceedings before a court, with the intent to influence Jane Doe to absence herself therefore. So I want to talk to you about a waiver of indictment. The crime that I've just described, that it carries a possible punishment of more than a year in prison. Because it's a felony, you have the right not to the right not to be prosecuted for those crimes unless a grand jury finds probable cause to charge you in something called an indictment. A grand jury is a group of 16 to 23 citizens before the member of the grand jury could vote to bring these charges against you in an indictment. At least 12 of them would have to agree that there's probable cause to believe that you committed the crime. The information that we talked about and that you received a copy of is just the accusation that was written by the prosecutor. The prosecutor did not have to go to the grand jury and show probable cause before filing that information. If you do not waive your right to have a grand jury consider your case, the prosecutor may take your case to a grand jury if she wishes to proceed with it. She cannot simply use that information to prosecute you. Do you understand that, Mr. Arline?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you discuss with Mr. DeCastro what it means to waive your right to have a grand jury consider your case?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you understand do you understand the right that you are waiving?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. DeCastro, is there any reason that your client should not waive the indictment?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Arline, do you wish to give up your right to grand jury presentment and indictment in this case?
Yes, I do.
Besides the written agreement that you have with the government, has anyone made any promise to you giving up your right to have a grand jury consider your case?
No, ma'am.
Okay, let's go. I see that there's a waiver of indictment that was signed, and so I'll make note of that and make that part of the record. So now let's turn to the rights that you'll be giving up. Mr. Arline, by pleading guilty to the charge, you'll be giving up some very valuable rights, and I want to make sure that you understand those rights before you decide to plead guilty. You have the right under the Constitution and the law of the United States to a speedy and public trial before a jury. Do you understand?
Yes.
You have the right to the assistance of an attorney for your defense at any trial and at all stages of this proceeding. If you could not afford an attorney, one would be appointed for you by the court. Do you understand?
Yes.
And at trial, you would be presumed innocent. You would not have to prove anything, including your innocence. The burden is with the government to present proof that convinces a jury beyond a reasonable doubt that you are guilty. If the government fails to meet this burden of proof, the jury would have to find you not guilty. Any verdict by the jury, whether guilty or not guilty, would have to be unanimous, and all 12 jurors would have to agree. Do you understand?
Yes.
And at trial, the witnesses for the government would have to come to court and testify in your presence. Mr. Arline, you disappeared from the screen. Mr. Arline, you disappeared from the screen for a moment. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You good? I think everything.
The connection is not. Where's the problem? Maybe.
Yeah, Judge. I was going. You're coming in clear, but also it's a strange to describe. It's sort of a little distortion, but the but I can understand, what you're saying, and I think others might be experiencing it too.
Right. Okay. So if you would just bear with me for a moment, I'm just going to close out some of my other applications that may be the problem.
Hold on.
Next page.
Okay.
So I closed out my applications. Hopefully this will be clearer. Okay.
Much better, Judge.
So let me just repeat the last thing that I was saying. Mr. Arline, at trial, witnesses for the government would have to come to court and testify in your presence. Your lawyer could cross-examine those witnesses and raise legal objection to the government's evidence. He could offer evidence on your behalf that might help you in your case. If you thought that there were witnesses out there who could help you, but who do not want to come and testify, your lawyer could ask the court to make those witnesses come to court and testify in your defense. Do you understand?
Yes.
At trial, you would have the right to testify on your own behalf if you want to, but you could not be forced to. This is because under the Constitution and laws of the United States, no one can be compelled to be a witness against themselves. So if you go down just a little bit.
Okay, sorry.
So if you wanted to go to trial but chose not to testify, the judge would instruct the jury that they could not hold that against you. Do you understand?
Yes.
If instead of going to trial, you plead guilty to the crime charge, and if your guilty plea is accepted, you will be giving up your right to a trial and to all the other rights that I have just discussed. There will be no trial in this case. You will stand convicted of the crime to which you pled guilty, just as if the jury found you guilty. Do you understand?
Yes.
And if you do plead guilty, I will have to ask you certain questions, but what you did, excuse me, and if you did plead guilty, I would have to ask you certain questions about what you did in order to satisfy myself that you are, in fact, guilty of the charge. You will have to answer my questions and acknowledge your guilt. This means that you will be giving up your right not to incriminate yourself. Do you understand?
Yes.
Are you willing to give up your right to a trial and all other rights that I have just described?
Yes.
All right. Let's turn now to your agreement with the government. I understand that there's a written agreement in this case. And Mr. Arline, do you have a copy of that agreement?
Yes.
So can you turn to the last page and tell me if that's your signature?
I'm going to have to look at it.
Okay, well, I will just also let the record reflect that the copy of the agreement with the government is marked Government Exhibit 1. All right. So, Mr. Arline, do you have it?
I'm going to have to go look at it in my email. I didn't know I needed it right now.
Oh, okay. Do you know the government's? Do you know this document that I'm talking about?
Yes.
All right. And did you have a chance to read it and go over it with your lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you understand what it says?
Yes.
And at the end of the document, did you sign it?
Yes.
All right. Now, by signing the agreement, do you agree to be bound by all the terms of that agreement?
Yes.
Does the agreement contain all the promises made between the government and you in exchange for your plea of guilty?
Yes.
Has anyone made any other promises that is causing you to plead guilty here today, other than the promise contained in the written agreement that you signed?
No, ma'am.
And did anyone make any promises to you as to what your sentence will be?
No, ma'am.
Mr. DeCastro, did you discuss the agreement with Mr. Arline?
I did, Your Honor.
And do you believe that he fully understands the terms of the agreement?
I do.
And did you sign it?
I did sign it. And also, Mr. Arline, I did text you because in this environment, sir, I did text you the signed one. So if you want to just look at it right now on your phone, the signed version, just to confirm that that's your signature. So yes, I did communicate with him and we both signed it.
All right. And does the agreement contain all the promises made between the government and Mr. Arline in exchange for the plea of guilty?
It does, Judge.
All right. Mr. Arline, did you have a chance to look at what your lawyer texted you?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Okay. And is that the agreement that you signed, that your signature is on it? With
Yes.
your signature on it?
Yes.
All right.
And did you sign the agreement? Can you unmute yourself? Your Honor, my understanding is that Ms. Geddes' audio was accidentally muted, and so I can attest on her behalf, though, that is in fact her signature.
Okay. So Ms. Cruz Melendez, thank you. All right. I assumed that was you, as you didn't identify yourself.
Sorry, yes, it is Ms. Cruz Melendez. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And has Did a supervisor, do you have the agreement with you, or are you here for Ms. Geddes? The question is whether a supervisor signed the agreement.
Yes, that's correct. Sorry, I had a moment of trouble here, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yes.
Ms. Cruz Melendez, are you familiar with the agreement?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And does the agreement contain all the promises made between the government and Mr. Arline in exchange for his plea of guilty?
It does, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. So let's turn to the consequences of the plea, and I'll wait for Mr. Arline to show up again. All right, your video cut out, but now we're back. So Mr. Arline, I need to be certain that you understand the consequences of pleading guilty to the charge of bribery. The charge, as I have mentioned before, is a violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 201B3, and it carries the following potential penalties. There is no minimum term of imprisonment, but there's a 15-year maximum term of imprisonment. In federal prison, there used to be a system called parole, and it meant that you could be sentenced to some of the time in prison, but it was possible that you would be released early depending on the decision of the parole board. The parole still exists in some states, but it has been abolished in the federal system. And that means that if you're sentenced to prison, you will not be released on parole. Do you understand?
Yes.
Did I hear you? Can you just repeat that?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Following any prison term, a maximum term of 3 years of supervised release could be imposed. Under supervised release, you will be free. However, you must abide by certain restrictions and requirements, and you'll have to report to and be supervised by a probation department. If you violate any of those terms of supervised release, such as committing another crime, testing positive for drugs, or any other condition that is imposed, you could receive an additional term of incarceration up to 2 years without credit for time served in prison or post-release supervision. With regard to a fine, you could be subject to a monetary fine with a maximum fine of greater of $250,000 or 3 times the amount of the bribe that was offered. And that depends on your ability to pay. And finally, there is a special assessment of $100, which is mandatory, and it's a condition of your sentence that must be imposed. Do you understand all these consequences of pleading guilty that I have just described?
Yes.
And were you born in the United States?
Yes.
Okay, let me turn now to sentencing. If you plead guilty, District Judge Ann Donnelly will sentence you. I want to briefly review with you now how Judge Donnelly will determine your sentence when the time comes. Did you have a chance to talk to Mr. DeCastro about sentencing?
Yes.
And Mr. DeCastro, did you discuss with Mr. Arline how Judge Donnelly will likely use the statutory penalties and sentencing guidelines and the 3553 factors to arrive at an appropriate sentence?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we discussed all 3.
And in your view, does Mr. Arline understand the process that Judge Donnelly will use to arrive at a sentence?
He does.
Mr. Arline, the crime that you're pleading guilty to carries the potential consequence I have just described. To determine what your sentence actually will be, Judge Donnelly must consider something called the Sentencing Guideline. Those guidelines are just that. They are a guide to help the court determine whether there should be a prison term, or if so, for how long, whether supervised release should be imposed, and whether there should be a fine. The guidelines are not mandatory, but the court is required to consider them. You and your attorney may have discussed the estimated guideline range with the government. I want to emphasize that even if you're sentenced to something different from what you or your government estimate the sentencing guidelines to be, You will not be allowed to withdraw your plea of guilty. Any estimate by the government is also not binding on Judge Donnelly. Judge Donnelly will do her own sentencing guidelines, calculations, and that is the calculations that she will use at sentencing. The sentencing guidelines themselves allow a judge in some circumstances to depart upward or downward from the advisory guideline range. In addition, the law also requires that the judge consider another set of factors, which include the seriousness of the crime that you committed, your history and background, the need of punishment, and the need to deter you from the, go down just a little bit. Right there, thank you. The need to deter you and others from committing crimes. They are called the 3553 factors. After taking all these things into consideration, Judge Donnelly may sentence you to something higher or lower than the range called for the advisory sentencing guidelines. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right. And the important thing for you to understand is that until you are sentenced, no one can tell you exactly what the guidelines will apply to your case or what your sentence will be. Not your lawyer, not the government's lawyers, and not the judge, and not Judge Donnelly, and not me either. Do you understand?
Yes.
To help calculate the guidelines applicable to your case and evaluate the 3553 factors as she determines your sentence, Judge Donnelly will get a pre-sentence report from your probation officer, or excuse me, the probation department. The report will be about you, your history and background, the charge, and other relevant matters. The probation department will do their own guideline calculations and will also recommend a sentence that they think is appropriate. You and your lawyer, as well as the government, will have an opportunity to see the report and probation department's guidelines, calculations, and to challenge it in any way. Do you understand?
Yes.
Judge Donnelly will then hold a sentencing hearing. Your lawyer and the government may present argument, witnesses, and evidence of any sentencing issue. You may bring family and friends to court to support you. You will also have a chance to tell Judge Donnelly anything that you want to say before she sentences you. Do you understand?
Yes.
And Judge Donnelly will use the pre-sentence report from probation and all the other information, recommendations, and arguments that she receives so that she can calculate and consider the applicable guideline range. Weight the 3553 factors and determine your sentence. Do you understand?
Hold real quick.
Sure.
Okay, hold on. Yeah. All right, go ahead. Go watch it. Okay, go ahead.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Scroll down just under some circumstances, you and the government may have the right to appeal. Go down, go scroll right there.
Okay.
May have the right to appeal any sentence imposed on you. You may also appeal your conviction if you believe that your guilty plea today was somehow unlawful or involuntary, or there was some other fundamental defect in this proceeding. Do you understand?
Yes.
However, in the agreement with the government, you've agreed that you will not file an appeal or otherwise challenge your conviction or your sentence as long as the court imposes a term of imprisonment of 21 months or less. You've also agreed to waive the right to raise an appeal or a collateral review any argument that the statute to which you're pleading guilty is unconstitutional and the conduct to which you are admitting does not fall within the scope of the statute. Do you understand? That's what you agreed to.
Yes.
Has anyone forced you or threatened you to make you waive your rights to appeal or any other right?
No.
Ms. Geddes, is there anything else in the agreement or anything else that I need to review with the defendant?
Your Honor, this is Ms. Cruz Melendez. No, there's nothing further.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. DeCastro, do you know any reason why Mr. Arline should not plead guilty?
No, Your Honor.
How are you aware of any viable legal defense to the charge?
I am not.
Mr. Arline, do you have any questions that you would like to ask me about the charge, your rights, the agreement, or anything else before we proceed?
No, ma'am.
Are you ready to plead at this time?
Yes, Judge.
Mr. Arline, what is your plea to the violation 8, U.S. Section 201B3, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
And are you making this plea of guilty voluntarily and of your own free will?
Yes.
Has anyone threatened or forced you to plead guilty?
No.
Has anyone made any promises to you as to what your sentences will be? Earlier, I read the portion of the information which describes what you are being charged with, and I want you to tell me now, in your own words, what happened between May and June of 2020 with regard to your bribing a witness. Can you tell me what you did?
Between May of 2020 and June 2020, me and another person offered Jane Doe money. If she did, no. I'm sorry. Stop. Go watch TV. Go watch Martian. No. Testimony against Robert Kelly. To give electronic devices in Kelly. I knew Robert Kelly was being arrested and was going to have a trial in Brooklyn, New York, and I knew what I did was wrong, and I'm sorry.
All right, thank you, Mr. Arline. I apologize for this, but the audio was a little bit unclear. At some point, audio was a little bit unclear at some point when you talked. You talked about an electronic device, so that you can just either repeat that or explain what you meant about the electronic device.
Now, I was saying Jane Doe, basically, if she did not go forward with her complaint or testimony against Robert Kelly or give any electronic device or devices of evidence that she might have against R. Kelly.
I see. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. And you said, you didn't say that you were in Brooklyn, but you understood the trial would be occurring in Brooklyn. Is that right?
Yes.
Mr. DeCastro, is there anything you want me to add to that?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mrs. Cruz Melendez or Ms. Geddes, is there anything that you would like to add?
No, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Arline, based on the information that you gave me, I find that you are fully competent and capable of entering an informed plea, that you are acting voluntarily, and that you fully understand the charges, your rights, and the consequences of your plea. I also find that there is a factual basis for your plea. I will therefore recommend that your plea of guilty to bribery be accepted. So the next step, Mr. Arline, is that you'll meet with somebody from the probation department to prepare a pre-sentence report. I urge you to cooperate with them. Obviously, with your lawyer's advice, you must be truthful and forthcoming with them. The sentencing before Judge Donnelly, as as I understand it, is scheduled for June 9th at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, okay? Now, before we finish this proceedings I need to read a statement with regard to the new criminal rule of procedure 5F with regard to the government's Brady obligations. Now, even though there's been a guilty plea in this case, the Brady obligations intend to extend to information with regards to sentencing. So I want to make sure that this is on the record. Pursuant to the Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 5F, I remind the prosecution of its obligations under Brady versus Maryland and its progeny to discuss the defense all information, whether admissible or not, that is favorable to the defendant, material either to guilt or to punishment, and that is known to the prosecution. The prosecution must make good faith efforts to disclose such information to the defense as soon as reasonably possible. I will enter a written order that more fully describes this obligation and the possible consequences of failing to meet it. And I direct the prosecution to reveal and comply with that order. Does the prosecution confirm that it understands its obligations and will fulfill them?
Yes, Your Honor. This is Ms. Cruz Melendez. We do understand our obligation.
All right, thank you, everyone. Mr. DeCastro, is there anything else that we need to go over?
No, Your Honor. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, and Ms. Cruz Melendez, anything further from the government?
Your Honor, I apologize. I should have added this earlier. I just wanted to make clear that with respect to the defendant's statement as to references of Kelly and his arrest, that the reference to the United States versus Kelly 19 CR-286, which is occurring within this district in Brooklyn in the Eastern District of New York.
All right, thank you. Mr. Arline, I did say that it was occurring in Brooklyn, but thank you for providing the specific citation to that case.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Arline?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for being here today, and thank you everybody for your participation. This will conclude the proceeding.
Matter concluded.
What does that say?
Certificate I, Linda Ferreira, hereby certify that the foregoing transcript of the said proceedings is a true and accurate transcript from the electronic sound recording of the proceeding reduced to typewriting in the above entitled matter. I further certify that I am not a relative or an employee or attorney or counsel of any of the parties, nor a relative or employee of such attorney or counsel or financially interested directly or indirectly in this action. In witness thereof, I hereunto set my hand on this third day of February 2021, Linda Ferreira. And that is the transcript for Mr. Arline. So he'll be getting sentenced by Judge Donnelly. What do y'all think about what y'all read?
Well, that is an amendment that everybody was trying to say that RKelly's not guilty and he hasn't bribed anybody. You know, he had people on his side that was working to try to keep witnesses from coming forward.
But didn't he also testify that he actually didn't that Mr. Kelly, quote unquote, didn't know that he was doing this? But where was this boy getting the money from?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I'm like, boy, I feel like he perjured himself a little bit on that, but okay.
Mm-hmm. I think he did too when he originally testified when we were reading the transcripts. Like you said, where's he gonna get that money from?
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out. He must be still under his, love spell and love. But also, I was gonna ask, um, did has it? But I'll wait. I'll talk about that later. I ain't gonna go into that. But yeah, that it's just a lot, a lot. But I don't know why people keep just invoking their feelings and ignoring the facts. If you want to look at a trial proceeding and you're going solely based on feelings and all of these, I love to step in the name of love. You're never gonna come out with a clear decision. You're gonna always like, no, I want to step in the name of love. Please let me step in the name of love. Please don't take my RKelly. Kels, Rob. Like these people getting up there and they saying Rob and stuff like I'm like, y'all swear, even if you have met this man, you act like y'all were BFFs or something. Like cut it out.
Man, listen. Here's what I'm thinking. This just further solidifies that not only is he guilty, but not everybody trying to go down with him.
Right.
And although you can clearly see that Richard Arline was trying to do what he could to try to get him out of it, he could have been doing that just to. He could have. He reminds me of the honey guy who would do or say anything they could to try to get RKelly off of this, but it simply didn't work.
And it makes you wonder, are they doing it because they are wanting to do it in his favor to please him, make him happy, or are they really afraid of him? Because like he tell them, you come up missing for this, you got to pick a team, you got to pick a side.
Yeah, I think that's exactly. I think you hit it right on the head, Shay. I think that not only, but I think it's more so for they wanted to be able to say to him, "Hey, I was loyal to you during that, so I want you to be loyal to me." They probably felt like if they, said that he didn't do something and knowing he did, or they stood it and would had his back, that if he did get out, that he would say, you know what, you was loyal to me. Now I'm gonna help you. We're gonna go ahead and record that. I'm gonna get you your rap deal that you want. I'm gonna get you this Donnie, that song you want to release. You about to release it. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
a lot of them.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'm done.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think too. I do agree with you with that as well. But I also think that a lot of them, like himself and including Demetrius, I think a lot of it about them saying no, he didn't know about it, is because they know that if they do testify that RKelly did know about it and they did the acts that they did, that's part of the RICO Act, and that they can also be charged with that because the government, I know the government's coming for the rest of them. They got to be coming for the rest of them. They had to get RKelly first. Mm-hmm. And if they agree and say that, yeah, he did know a part of this and he was the one that instructed me, now they're guilty of right there of RICO. They're perjuring themselves, not perjuring themselves, but they are incriminating themselves.
Absolutely. Well, ladies, I appreciate y'all so much. I'll be going live later on tonight. We'll probably come on about, I'm going to let y'all pick. Y'all want me to come back? We're going to get back into the prosecution's closing arguments tonight. I'm thinking about either 8 or 9 o'clock. Which one do y'all want to do? I'll let the judge, y'all let me know in the crowd, 8 or 9 o'clock. Let's do 8 or 8:30, 9 o'clock. I know it's Friday, but 8 or 9 o'clock. I want to give people time to get home and go get something to eat and just, chill out. 8 or 9 o'clock. Y'all tell me what y'all, let's do 8 or 8:30. 8 or 8:30 tonight. Which one? Let me see what y'all talking about. It's at 8 o'clock. I got 1-8.
Can we possibly have an extra long reading?
I believe we are tonight. Yeah, we're gonna read tonight because I want to get to I can't wait to get to the defense.
Yes.
I gotta hear this. I gotta hear this. Him talking about him being like Martin Luther King and all that kind. I need to hear that.
Did you know that somebody got on choke and even said, and then that was a lie that they didn't do that. They didn't even.
Listen, we gonna find out.
Right.
we got those scripts. Everybody saying 8:00. Everybody saying 8:00. Okay, so we're gonna do 8:00.
Oh, look at the baby.
Yeah, her hair.
Look at her hair. Pretty.
Say hi.
Cutie.
Hi, pretty.
Hello. What's your name?
What's your name? Say Leia.
Leia. Oh, you are gorgeous.
Are you daddy, baby? Okay.
How old is she?
How old are you? You too?
Oh, you're a big girl.
Mm-hmm. She is
You ain't let go of that passage, though, huh?
Man, we've been trying to snatch it from her. But all right, y'all, I'm gonna let y'all go. I will see y'all tonight.
All right.
We'll be here, okay?
Love y'all. Love y'all too.
I'll holler y'all later.
Bye, Leia.
Okay. Say bye-bye.
Bye, Leia.
I'm over here waving at her like she can see me. Bye, Leia.
She's so beautiful.
All right, see y'all later.
Oh no.
I don't need negative energy, wrap me in positive synergy. I have been doubted through life, been there and done it with trifling people who told me my style will not work. I told them they wrong, been struggling too long. This song is for you, I'm proving you wrong. Get out my way, get out my way, get out my way, get out my way.
I'm a genuine person. Like if I love you, I love you. If I don't mess with you, I don't mess with you. It's as simple as that.